Hello, welcome to Confidently Creative. I'm your host, Jason Ward. This is the podcast that helps all creatives become more confident. Subscription is absolutely free. Sponsors are always welcome, and please feel free to share the show, leave us a review, let me know what you need, or just follow us on Instagram at jasonwardcreative. Enjoy. Welcome to the Confidently Creative Christmas Special, Creating for the Festive Season. The festive season is the most wonderful time of the year, and there really is nothing better for many people than simply having a wonderful Christmas time. However, with so much of this time of year dominated by nostalgia, the question for us as creatives is how do we take a fresh look at our traditions and offer something new and attractive for our audiences? In this episode, I'm going to give you 5 strong tips to help you create beautiful, emotionally connecting, and celebratory seasonal experiences. Over the years, I've done traditional British panto, I've delivered Disney seasonal celebrations, celebrated with audiences from around the world, I've created festive events for cruise lines with ice skaters, fake snow, characters, live music, and even the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra. And I've also done a bit of Christmas-themed bingo as well. This year, I created a Yuletide event for a whole town, historic Christchurch in the south of England. I worked with the wonderful Gobbledygook Theatre Company and Stir Events to create a whole narrative. We engaged traditional characters, dancers, performers. We had the rugby club carrying a traditional Yule log, community groups, the mayor, choirs, live music, and a magical woodland spell that illuminated the town. Essentially, we created a new festive tradition. So what have I learned, and what are my 5 festive tips? Number 1, traditions. Every group, family, culture, country have their own traditions during the festive season. There are many cultures that celebrate light over the winter months. In Northern Europe, this goes back to pagan times when the days became shorter and when light became scarcer. Yuletide, celebrated by pre-Christians, morphed into Christmas, developing a celebration of light into a celebration of the light of the world. Diwali, which is celebrated in October or November, depending on the year, also celebrates light. The Jewish festival, Hannukah, celebrates an oil candle that would not go out for 8 days and which is represented by the daily lighting of additional candles on the menorah for the 8 days of Hanukkah. But within every tradition, there are variations. So Eastern Orthodox Christians celebrate Christmas Day on the 6th or 7th of January. Southern Europeans also celebrate Epiphany, and some people don't observe any religious celebration. In the Southern Hemisphere, December's in the middle of summer, so there are a whole other set of traditions there. For example, Argentinians have a barbecue at Christmas. So my tip is start by immersing yourself in all these global and local traditions. You'll be surprised at how many different ways there are of celebrating the same season and how much inspiration you can draw from these different traditions. Number 2, place. Every place has its own festive traditions and history of celebration. When I first thought of the Christchurch Yuletide event, I thought of medieval and Saxon because that was the town's history. But I needed the event to have a better reason than just everyone dresses like a Saxon. So I looked deeper into what had happened in the town over the years and realised that I would need to celebrate Saxon history because the Saxons founded the town, but also the Christian tradition because there has been a beautiful priory church in the town for 1100 years, but also the commercial side of the season because the town's market has been trading since 650 AD. All these elements needed to be represented or drawn on for creative inspiration. And every place has its own particularity or special way of celebrating. When I lived in Florida, I used to love the nightly snowfall in celebration, while here in the UK it still amazes me to learn about all the traditions in towns and villages across the country, from the Ashdown Mummers in Sussex to Wassailing in the west to the Murray Lwyd in Wales. Every place has a unique way of celebrating. So look into these unique ways and draw inspiration from them. Number 3, story. There's a whole episode in this series about why story is so important when creating. Having a story doesn't mean that you're writing a 3-act Shakespeare play. What it means is you're making a decision about what you want to say about this time of year. For the event that I created for Christchurch, I decided early on that I wanted to create something story-led so that it would feel like a tradition that had been going on for years. So I had to develop it a little bit further, so I came up with the idea of using the characters of the Holly King, Ivy Queen, Lord of Misrule, came out of the New Forest to start the Yuletide celebrations. When I handed the concept to Gobbledygook Theatre Company, they went away, developed the story even further, and I'll put the links to it all in the show notes. But the important thing to remember is you don't have to write a Dickens novel, but you need a basic story to inform your creative choices and to create an emotional connection with your audience. Number 4, it can never be too festive. Winter celebrations are about excess. Personally, I get very frustrated when people say, oh, it's just too Christmassy. No, it can't be too Christmassy. From the pagans to the Romans to the Christians, they all celebrated with excessive food, drink, dancing, music, whatever. Now, I am a big fan of minimalism. I like things to be clear, concise, and simple, but this is a starting point. The festive season is not minimalist. It is maximalist. However, there is a caveat. My favourite show, for example, my favourite Christmas show is the Radio City Rockettes Christmas show. In terms of cast, it's most definitely maximalist, but it has precision, it has forward motion, and it has clarity. The creators are clear what the show is about and where it's going. They just take you there with the most of everything. But every dancer is perfectly coordinated. Every dancer is absolutely in step. It's just that they have 60 dancers on stage. They have a double-decker bus. They have a 52-piece orchestra. They have a full-on living nativity with camels, donkeys, and sheep. The show is excessive, but it's also precise. So, have a think about it. Keep adding to your seasonal creative event by all means, but keep in mind that it needs to be massive in a way that makes sense. So it can't be too festive, but it has to be clear. 5th tip. The festive season is about bringing people together. This is absolutely key. Hanukkah, Christmas, Yule are all about bringing groups of people together in a shared experience. So when you're creating, keep this in mind. You can create a virtuoso, groundbreaking, and awe-inspiring experience, but it needs to bring people together. When you're creating a festive experience, you need to continually ask yourself if you are bringing your audience together. Are you making them do something as one? If you're familiar with British pantomime, think about how the whole audience is encouraged to all boo the villain. Or what happens when everyone has to point out that there's a ghost behind the lead character. They do that together. More than enjoying an amazing show, the audience is sharing an experience and keeping a tradition alive together. Make sure your festive experience is celebrating and encouraging togetherness. So, a quick recap of my 5 festive tips. Number 1, traditions. Immerse yourself in all the seasonal traditions you can discover. Number 2, place. Find out what is unique about the place you are creating for. Number 3, story. What is your experience about? Number 4, it can never be too festive, but it must be clear. And number 5, always bring people together. Enjoy your festive season, whatever you might celebrate, and if you would like support with your creative project, then please contact me directly at jasonwardcreative@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to Confidently Creative. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget, subscription is free and you can follow me on Instagram at jasonwardcreative. Please feel free to leave me a review and share the show. I look forward to catching up with you soon on Confidently Creative.